I didn't know they was waiting for us.
I guess after a minute.
Make this full screen.
Oh, I know those guys.
I hear wow echoes. So now all your other devices,
Everything's off. My laptop's off. My phone's off.
oh, that was my phone. My bad. My bad. What's up, people?
This is cool.
This is cool. We never did this before. Yeah, it's different, man. You know? Try some new shit sometime.
We started live, conceptually. Thanks to Instagram. But now we're on YouTube. What's up, YouTube? That's LR Blitzkrieg.
That's the marksman. This is Aiight So Boom.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say this is wine. Because we are distinguished gentlemen. Tink. So, on our nerdy journey, it's taken us from platform to platform. But it really comes down to us wanting to be as close to the people as possible. Would you agree with that?
I agree, man. We have been doing, we're on, I think, our 14th episode of Aiight So Boom.
Time flies.
It's not really our 14th episode. It's actually even more than that because we started with WandaVision, right? Before
technically we started with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Technically.
Yeah, that.
You know what I mean?
Technically, we started with Winter Soldier, but before that, we was on Instagram, and then we leveled up and we went to we brought it to YouTube, and we were, filming and then editing and then giving it out to the people. But a lot of times that just takes time and effort, and
busy men.
We are busy men. So we thought we'd just come live because the episode 5 was just so engaging and so
in your face.
Yeah, it's we can't wait. We got to put it up. And besides for all of that, I do all of the editing, and my daughter's birthday's in 2 days, and I'm getting ready to go on vacation. I just don't have time for all of that insane editing that I usually do. So
we want it out.
Yeah, we just wanted to. We didn't want to not give it to y'all. So.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense. Well, how you doing, man? How you doing overall?
I'm excellent, man. I'm, chilling, just paying attention to everything that's going on the internets and on these streaming services.
Yeah,
a lot of good stuff going on. That trailer for What If that they just put out.
Oh my goodness! Come on, Marvel! Marvel! What are y'all doing?
That looks super fire.
I've always been obsessed with these alternate universes of our favorite characters.
Yeah.
That's always been something that they can successfully do every once in a while. But the What If series they've been doing that for decades.
Yeah.
What If is an older trope that they use to kind of just spice up, their universes. So to have that kind of classic Marvel tale kind of reinvented with the same MCU actors, this is the last time we're going to hear Chadwick Boseman's voice as T'Challa.
Yeah, man.
But it's just I just love it, man. The ideas or concepts just seem so fresh.
They got T'Challa as Star-Lord.
Yeah, which is so dope.
They've got Killmonger saving Iron Man, and what happens?
What do you think that's going to mean?
I think Killmonger might get an iron suit.
You know what I'm saying? You saved my life. I'm giving you an Iron Man suit. That's what I took from that.
Yeah, man.
Because he might have still been too selfish to do it himself because he didn't go through the experience.
So would that
you know what I'm saying?
Would that make him an Ironmonger?
Ironmonger, which is a real character in comics. So that would be crazy if you call it an Ironmonger.
I like it. What else we got? We got Captain Carter.
Captain Carter,
Peggy Carter
Captain Britain.
Yeah, becomes basically a Captain Britain character.
With Steve Rogers taking this ancient Iron Man suit. So she's kind of riding. Is that just fire?
Yeah. It looks like Steve and the giant robot.
Fire. So I'm just excited for that.
But overall, the animation looks incredible.
Yeah. It looks expensive.
Yeah.
They got the. I mean, they got it, man. I mean, this is Jeffrey Wright is playing the voice of the Watcher. You know, I mean, that's just, you know, you got me already. You got me already. So Disney Plus, you know, I'm paying my subscription for these Marvel shows. You know, like we last week we spoke about the Simpsons special.
Yes, they're doing a Avengers special.
It was 6 minutes long.
Oh, you saw it?
It was 6 minutes long, people.
Wow.
So I was geared up to watch it. Like I'm thinking it's like an hour. Like I was prepared to watch it so we could talk about it. And it went, and the credits came on Blitz, and I thought, okay, is this come in parts or something? Like I went to and it says 6 minutes. So I was like, oh, yeah.
I didn't even know it came out.
They
already.
amped it up, yo.
I'm gonna go watch it. I watched. This is totally. I mean, it's kind of off-brand, but Monsters Inc. has a new animated show. Started watching that. That was cool.
They do. You watch it with Lola?
Yeah, the first 2 episodes watched of Monsters at Work.
Right.
So they had Monsters Inc. and then they went back and they did Monster College or Monster University.
I remember Monsters. It wasn't as funny, nearly as funny as the first one.
It was good though. I enjoyed it, but now they moved up and now they doing Monsters at Work. So
they stretched it out. They stretched out that franchise, boy.
You got to. It's as
long
as it's making money.
Yeah, Monsters did well. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
Star Wars released a new trailer for the anime project that they're working on, which just seemed very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to drive from a different source of art, you know. Anime is very detailed. I want to see their versions of these worlds.
Yeah.
These worlds. So that looks pretty interesting.
So today is Thursday.
Yes, it is.
Obviously, we're going live, so I can say exactly what day it is that we're doing this, right?
Yeah, right. That's true.
But
we'd be pretending otherwise.
Tomorrow in the afternoon, gonna have a bunch of people over. We're gonna watch Black Widow.
Oh man!
And then we'll be going live again. Yeah.
This is fun.
This is fun. I like this.
You're gonna watch Black Widow. It's $30 if you have Disney Plus. So that's a little investment. You figure if you go into the movies with a partner, you're paying $30 anyway.
For sure.
Unless you're, solo dolo. And if you have a friend over or you watch it and you have access for how long you have access for? Is it 30 days?
At least, I think.
Or 45, 30 days?
I think it's 30 days, yeah.
So you can watch it over and over and over. I don't, in this new world we live in, I'm not too mad at that $30 premium.
No, it's not that bad. I mean, for the convenience of me not leaving my house and not having to get in the car and pay for parking and then pay for popcorn and pay for snacks and make sure I get the seats I want. I can sit in my cushy seat in my living room and make my own popcorn. There goes my bell. I don't know what's going on.
No doubt.
I think it's worth it. I think it's totally worth it. I'm gonna have a bunch of people over. We may even have some guests on the show tomorrow.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. You never know.
We've been running these shows, just with some, incredible attention to detail, watching it, rewatching it, just making sure that we have all the details together for you guys. So we're gonna run through this episode, Loki episode.
Man.
5.
Let's do episode 5. I love it.
The next week is a finale, bro.
I know.
This is over.
And what day is that?
What date? Is that Wednesday? Next
Wednesday
Wednesday is the 14th. Yes.
So we have to go live that day because I leave on the 15th.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're following LR Blitzkrieg.
Make sure you're following the Marksman.
And you will definitely be in the know. We're going to be posting this. We have this on Facebook and everywhere just to make sure that you know so you can tune in with us live.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's get started, y'all. Now, the last episode, of course, ended with, I say, this is my favorite post-credit sequence. It's definitely in my top 3 that the MCU, I think has ever released. It's in my top 3. And we were taken to see all of these Lokis, which honestly I could have seen a whole series of just these Lokis.
Yes, yeah. We could have stayed on this planet for,
very entertaining, this damn planet.
For sure.
There's so much happening on this damn planet.
Right. With one character.
With just one character. With all his variants. And we learn that Lokis are survivors, which comes in handy. But we start on this overall shot which is very interesting how they kind of start this aerial shot and they brought it in kind of 360.
Yeah,
Which is,
it kept going. Basically, like when I watched it, it seemed like it was going upside down over and over again as it went through the TVA.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was giving the effect of everything is upside down. Like you don't know what's going on anymore. Everything is turned inside out or upside down, and the order that is the TVA is now upended. You know what I mean? So who knows where this is going?
Right. And even as they zero in on that elevator, if you look at the design, it can be translated as an hourglass, and it's also a symbol, which is like a yin yang in different cultures. So there's a very interesting, all the symbolism has a lot to do with it. But pretty much we go straight to this world, this other world that we know is this void at the end of time. And pretty much the Lokis are kind of convening. We have boastful Loki, we have alligator Loki, we have kid Loki, and we have classic Loki. Right. And we also are introduced to Aiight.
Yes.
Aiight is from the comics.
Yeah, and that wasn't a comic that I read. At least I don't remember it. Aiight. It was very comic accurate as this purple cloud of death. It was pretty dope that they even took it to something that I would assume is so kind of obscure in terms of comics. It's not like in your face, like everybody knows it.
Right.
But it's just like
checks out.
All roads are leading towards like one evil bad dude with a blue face.
Right. I mean, in the comics, we can bring it up now.
Yeah.
That this cloud was used by Kang.
From what I understand of it, is that Kang was afraid of Aiight because it was the one thing within the time stream that had more power than him in terms of moving through time and gathering resources for moving through time or whatever. I think maybe you're right that at one point in time he was able to harness it and use it for his benefit.
Right.
But for the most part, like it was an adversary of his. It wasn't something that like he was in control of. It wasn't his watchdog, like they say in the show.
Right. That makes sense. But because it consumes matter and energy, just having this entity in this particular location kind of just makes sense to serve your purpose to kind of keep everything at bay.
Hey, hold on a second. Time out. Anybody watching this, whether you're watching it live right now, if you are watching live, come into the chat. Tell me what's up. But if not, if you're watching this on the re-record, I really wanted to have like a bunch of resources of what's going on in the show behind me on my television screen or my monitor here, but I can't do that because they're forcing me to use my webcam to film this. Who's that? Hi.
Hey, that's my god sister.
Hey Nicole. So the reason that they're forcing me to use my webcam instead of using one of my other cameras where I could film in the opposite direction and use my monitors is because we are 25 people away from 1,000 subscribers on this channel. We need 25 subscribers.
Nicole, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already.
I'm just saying. We want to make this as interesting and as dope and production quality as top notch for you.
Yeah.
If you subscribe to the channel, I'll be able to do that. We'll be able to do that. And the show will be that much better and that much more informative. Let's get back into the show. So we were talking about Purple Cloud Man. What's his name?
Yeah, Aiight.
And how he is an adversary to Kang the Conqueror. We'll probably be talking about him a lot today because I think I did cool. We're going to be talking about him a lot today because there are a lot of Easter eggs that lead towards him, even though they may be misdirecting us.
They could be. I don't trust anything they're doing.
Yeah.
But after this, we have the title screens, which is dope. Every time I see the title, the music, the it's very dramatic. And then they show like the Loki titles with the photocopies, and you kind of tell. I love that concept of photocopying something over and over again.
Yeah.
It's just so smart. Anyway, my girl Ravonna, who I'm loving more and more, Mubu Ngathu Raw is just so beautiful. And such a good actress.
She is.
She's acting her ass off.
I think the first time I saw her was like in a soap opera. It was like on All My Children or some shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she definitely has the chops. And her and Sylvia are kind of going back and forth. She says, "Listen, let's kind of combine. I want to know who's been lying to me this whole time, right? You want to find out who we both realize that the TVA there's something going on because these timekeepers aren't even real; they're androids,
right?
So they're kind of going back and forth, and at some point they agree, let's do this together. Let's go to this void, at the end of time, where this world is, find out who is holding, who's on the other side of the curtain, so to speak.
Because Ravonna's basically like, yo, I'm just as in the dark as you are. Which, of
course, we don't really trust her. Miss Minutes gets involved, right? And we realize, Miss Minutes is here to pretty much access all the files that they need at any time. And Miss Minutes volunteers because pretty much Sylvie's like, if you can't help me the way I need you to help me, there's no need for me to keep you alive. Right. So then Miss Minutes volunteers. No, we have this vessel that can travel to, through time to this void space. And she's stalling. Yeah. We realize that she's stalling for Renslayer.
She's looking for these files that she shouldn't have to look for because she is basically the computer that picks the files. And she's like, oh, I'm looking.
Yeah.
Ravonna's like, how much longer? And she's like, any minute now.
Yeah. Which, of course, adds more context and gives us a little more information to Miss Minutes.
But, yeah, because the stalling tactic wasn't Ravonna's idea. It was Miss Minutes' idea. What I'm saying.
She volunteered to bring up the ship. She volunteered all of that.
Yeah, so when she spoke to Loki, like 3 episodes ago, and he's like, "Are you alive? Are you a computer? Like, what are you?" And she's like, "Yeah."
She didn't answer.
She's like, "Yeah." Like, kind of both.
Right.
So I think we're going to find out. Even it's interesting to me because in watching this episode, I'm like, how are they going to wrap this up? How are they going to wrap up all of these things? We only have 1 episode left. How are they going to wrap up all these things? How are you going to tell me, who Miss Minutes is, what Ravonna knows, what she doesn't know? What is the actual relationship between Loki and Sylvie? Where is he going from here? Right. What is the TVA? Who is the TVA?
Yeah.
Where is the TVA? All of these things, right? Who's in, like, so many things. So
that's a lot. But to be honest with you, the only thing they need to really answer is who's behind the TVA, and I think everything else should fall into place. We'll see, but pretty much Ravonna stalling, some guards come in, and Sylvie is forced to kind of jump behind some barriers.
Aiight So Boom. I don't know if you noticed this, but the Minutemen or the Hunters, right? They're the sticks that they prune you with, the pruning sticks.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
What do you mean?
It's a pencil. There's a point on one end and an eraser on the other.
Sugar. That is insane. You're right.
Right?
It's like a huge...
It's a giant pencil. It's so corny, but the way that they did it without saying it...
You're erasing...
And you're erasing whoever...
That's fire.
Yeah.
That is fire. Because we're MCs, we're writers.
Yeah.
So that's fire.
I thought it was cool once I looked at it and I was like, that's a goddamn bitch.
That's crazy. Wow, that's nuts. That's a dope detail. Sylvie is back in the corner. The Minutemen are there, and they have her in the corner. She has one of the prune sticks with her.
Right.
And she kind of jumps up and she sacrifices.
Well, before that, Ravonna is talking to her and she's asking her about, and I thought this was like poignant when she asked her, do you even have any good memories. And Sylvie's like, I have one.
Yeah.
And you have to assume that one memory she's talking about is when she was on Lamentus 1 with
Loki.
With Loki proper, and they had that moment. So and made the Nexus event that even allowed this story to continue on.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And that was her kind of, I think I'm gonna go find my man.
Yeah. So she prunes herself.
And she prunes herself, which is a pretty dangerous thing to do. Because you don't know exactly what's
and my metaphor for pruning was came out to be true, right?
Yeah.
Because pruning is something that you do in gardening, right? And if you prune something, you can pick it up from where it is and repot it someplace else, and it's basically being picked up. You're being picked up and repotted someplace else. You're being repotted to die, but you know what I mean? Like,
that's on you.
Yeah.
No, that's true. After this, we're taken to the netherworld, the void world.
Hold on, Nicole has a question. What's your question,
Nicole? Definitely ask your question, Nicole. You have our full attention.
Right. Type your question. We'll definitely answer it. But continue until we get that.
Yeah, we're back in the world, and this is when you have to pay attention.
They absolutely are. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is the whole concept of this show is all of these coexisting versions and variants.
Nicole asked, aren't they both Lokis, right? And yes, they are both Lokis. And I know it is weird that people kind of have this weird feeling about these, with you falling in love with another version of yourself, but it's not like brother and sister. That's not incestuous. They're not brother and sister. They're like,
they're worse.
It's not worse. Like, listen, when you find a mate, right, or somebody that you want to be with, you'd be like, man, this person is like, they get me, like they're just like me, like they like the same things that I like. She
said incestuous much.
She's her own person, but yes, she is a version of him. And Loki, for the most part, the reason that he's a villain is because he's so narcissistic, right? And so we spoke about this last week, where a narcissist has to love themselves, right? Or does love themselves.
Yeah.
So you have Sif from, episode 4, where she's like, you're always going to be alone. No one's ever going to love you. So who else is going to love a narcissist but himself, right? So he has another version of himself to love.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect.
It only works for him, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work for Thor it doesn't work. Loki's character is specifically for something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And even the fact, I remember being incredibly disappointed when she was first revealed. That ended up working. They did that on purpose, because if they did a clone of Tom Hiddleston,
right,
it would have been even more jarring.
It would have been creepy, because she would have been too much like him, and it would be like,
Even if they casted Jamie Alexander, because she kind of has a male Tom Hiddleston look to her, like she's tall, slender, a Sif.
Oh yes.
Like if they casted her, it would have been comic accurate, but it kind of would have threw us off. So they chose this actress purposely, who was not she wasn't a clone of Tom Hiddleston,
right,
to kind of soften how weird this is.
Yeah.
And it is weird, but I do believe that for this particular character, it works.
It's funny because I think that metaphorically, right, you can't love anyone else until you love yourself.
Damn right.
And so he is metaphorically and in physical doing both at the same time. Like he's learning to love himself and love himself at the same time.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
weird.
The X-rated material is going to just go off the chain.
Oh man, I don't even want to go on Reddit and see like
get those Pornhub accounts going. But yeah, so he's there stranded. He has all these Lokis in front of him, and he's trying to get an explanation.
New meaning to go F yourself. Right? Sorry. Go ahead.
Listen, the jokes can go on, because I'm thinking, like, if I met a female version of myself, that would be kind of weird. But anyway,
but you'd love it. You'd be like, oh yeah, we're on the same page.
Marcy is bad.
Marcy.
So yeah. So all right. So we're at this world, and Loki just needs to be explained as well as the audience of the rules of this little universe.
Mhm.
So that's the scene where pretty much Loki's like, pretty much, can y'all stop walking and explain to me?
Yeah.
You know, why you're here, there's an alligator here who for some reason I wasn't even surprised to see.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's how just crazy this stuff is.
Right.
And
Classic Loki's like, that's what's his name? Ooh, the cloud. What's his name?
or Goliath, Eliath.
Goliath.
Think of
He's
Goliath
like,
and Eliath. Yeah.
That's Eliath. We're his food. We gotta get out of here.
Yeah, pretty
in the
much.
story.
Pretty much. Classic Loki doesn't have time to explain anything. And even how, loud Loki is, Kid Loki grabs the classic golden dagger and pretty much is like, yo, shut up, dude.
Right. Yeah.
Because Eliath is right there and we're trying to move around. So we learned that Kid Loki is in charge.
Goliath. I gotta remember that.
Eliath.
Like Goliath.
I gotta think of
without the
right.
G.
Exactly.
Boom.
Kid Loki is in charge.
Right.
And at some point Loki's like, wait, he's in charge? I thought you're the OG. Why is he in charge? And Kid Loki turns around and goes, pretty much Loki said, well, what was your Nexus event that got you, to this status?
Yeah.
And Kid Loki turns around and says, I killed Thor.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta respect him for killing Thor.
I mean, do you have to respect them?
I do. You don't?
They give him credit for it, right? Which makes him like the leader of this band of Thors. But I got the feeling like he didn't feel good about killing Thor. And our Loki certainly didn't like the fact that he killed Thor. Like, if we start back at the beginning of all these Marvel movies, we'd assume all he wanted to do was kill Thor.
Mm-hmm.
But you realize that deep down, none of these Lokis really want to kill Thor. They're just displacing their anger or the way they feel about things, or the fact that they're adopted, and they feel like they're an outcast or lonely or whatever. And hiding all of this, but behind the anger and the mischief and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the feeling that Kid Loki, he killed him, but he feels bad about it. And certainly our Loki is like, oh man, you killed my brother. Like, what I mean? Like,
right. I mean, it's a little off-putting. I mean, he's the only Loki that has. Don't be surprised if we see Kid Loki down the line. I like how they're making Loki proper and more emotional. His reaction to hearing that Kid Loki killed Thor was so
see,
he felt a little way about that.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if we see Kid Loki stick around for the Young Avengers.
I mean, it's possible. We're seeing more and more Young Avengers pop up every single time, like we see a show, right? We have so many of them now. I feel like the only one we're missing is like Hulkling, right? Because we have, honestly, Enchantress Sylvie can't go. She's too old. She's not a Young Avenger.
For a second, I thought her child variant. I brought her up, Haley. Yeah. I thought she would have slipped into the Young Avengers when I first saw her.
But we've got young Hawkeye coming. Mm-hmm. We have young Cassie Lang Stature coming. Mm-hmm. We've already had Patriot in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We have Wanda's twins already.
Tommy and Billy.
And then we have Kid Loki. That's a whole super team.
That's a little Avengers, right there.
You don't need anybody else, even if there are more of them. Which, I mean, there are, but and then you have if and when Kang comes, then you can introduce Iron Lad, which is another Young Avenger. So, my
goodness, I mean, the fact that.
And Kid Loki.
The fact that all of that is there and just not there, but there. Yeah. You feel me? Because it's not.
And then don't forget, we can go to Champions route, right? Which I don't think they're going to do a Champions and a Young Avengers. I think they're just going to do one. You have Riri Williams coming, right? Yeah. Who has her own show, Ironheart. So she may be incorporated. You can also incorporate our version of Spider-Man into that Young Avengers instead of the Champions or whatever. So there's a lot of young. They can put this whole young super team together and just do
anything,
a ton of things with them.
I never thought of having Spider-Man being a part of that. He should be like their leader or something.
I mean, I don't think we're going to get because Miles Morales was in the Champions, right? And I don't think we're going to get a Miles Morales anytime soon.
Right.
Besides for the Spider-Verse. So you could potentially have him, replace Miles Morales if they wanted to put him into the Young Avengers rather than have him, because he shouldn't be in the proper Avengers.
I mean, but after Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man come out, a lot of these conversations are gonna, we're gonna know a lot more about what they're doing and pulling from where.
Shout out to Issa Rae, who's playing the first Black Spider-Woman in Spider-Verse.
Yeah. There's another casting too. I don't know if you heard about this. This is highly, 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 highly rumored. Megan Thee Stallion is supposed to make an appearance in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Which it probably won't be a big part, or even if it is, it'll be interesting just to see.
From what I get from Meg Thee Stallion, I don't think she's a good actress, and I don't think she has the ability to be a good actress.
Yeah.
So I hope and pray that it's a walk-on role just to have Meg Thee Stallion on there for a second.
I think that's what it is. She's like the receptionist. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, not to downplay her, but I trust Marvel in using non-actors.
I know one of the main super villains in that show, aside from Abomination, who we know is coming back, is supposed to be Titania.
Oh yeah, she was casted as well.
Yeah, I don't remember the actress's name, but
yeah,
I could from Meg's build, I could see her being like a character like that. But acting chops wise, please have her be a defendant in a case, and then she says something about Hot Girl Summer and walks off, and we never see her again.
I trust Marvel working with non-actors.
Yeah,
for their name. We know we ain't gonna put you to do the heavy lifting, but we're gonna make you look cool, and your fans are gonna love it. I'm hoping we kind of stick with that. Thank you, Marvel, for listening to our notes. But yeah, so all right, so we have this little wasteland, and pay attention as you watch this episode. If you watch it again,
I've never seen anything with so many Easter eggs in my whole entire life.
Everything in the background is an Easter egg for something.
Yeah.
So you have the remains. You see, and we're gonna go through a few in this episode, but you see the major ones I saw was Yellow Jacket's his helmet.
Yellow Jacket's helmet, but blown up. So
Giant
Man helmet. Yeah.
If you think of that, what did you think about that?
I mean, I thought it was dope.
Where do you think it came from? Or if you had any theories? Because I say that because at the end of Ant-Man, he kind of got into a quantum tunnel.
Yes.
So it's possible that kind of led him.
I mean, it's possible that all of this is in some type of quantum realm, right? I've speculated from the beginning that TVA is inside the quantum realm,
right?
But also, whatever Kang City was it called, Chronopolis or something like that. That could be that city that we saw inside of Ant-Man and the Wasp. So we don't know, but there's lots of stuff pushing us in one direction. Yeah,
that was just another Kang. To me, that was just that Yellow Jacket helmet. To me, spoke to Kang because I just saw quantum. I just like quantum. Quantum energy. So anyway,
I felt like that. I did feel like that one wasn't necessarily a throwaway, other ones that were fun. But
yeah, I mean that was a real MCU villain.
Yeah,
and Kang's coming in a sequel of that line of movies. Come on now. But we saw so many things that we're going to go through. But one major one, as they descended into their underground lair, I could see the camera lowering.
Right.
And we saw.
First, you see Mjolnir. You see Thor's hammer.
You see the hammer, and then right below it.
Wait, before you see all of that, you see a bunch of lunch trays. What's up with
random lunch trays?
Do they not decompose?
It's like a bowling alley or something. Well, I don't know what that's about. Sure. Decompose. But we see the hammer, the mystical hammer, and then we see in a glass bottle marked 365.
Yep. T365.
T365. We see Frog.
It was Throg.
Thor. Oh no, it was Frog.
It was Frog Thor. I so wish I could like pull up these pictures on the screen for you guys. I have all of these pictures ready for you.
We mentioned Throg. We mentioned Throg from the first episode.
Yeah, man. It was Frog Thor. He had on the full Frog costume, and he's like jumping from inside of this. If you guys didn't see that, like you got to watch it again. But he's jumping and trying to get to Mjolnir so that but it's just not happening for him.
What is your vote, man? Like, are we seeing this again? Are we seeing him again? The fact that he was so close to the hammer, like, it's not like the hammer was here and he was down here.
But he can't get out of that jar.
It was literally right there. Yeah. That tells me he's getting out.
But he can't get out of that jar. We'll see. I don't know.
You have no opinion of we're going to see him again?
I don't think we're going to see him again in this series.
Do you think we're going to see him again in MCU?
I think eventually somebody's gonna be like, "Yo, Throg is canon. Let's go for it," and they're gonna pull him out again for sure.
No doubt. That was dope. I mean, as far as Easter eggs go.
Yeah. And by the way, 365 and episode Thor 360, Mighty Thor 364 and 365 were the episode where Throg or Frog Thor originated from. So that's why it was those numbers were on there.
Yeah. Of course, if you see numbers in MCU, usually
anytime you see numbers in MCU, look it up. You gotta find something.
And we also see the Thanos copter, which was like, whoa.
And it looked as corny as it did in like the 70s.
As two-dimensional.
It was hilarious.
Triangular, like very, very simply shaped, you know. But before Thanos was out there swiping stones. He had a few campy storylines.
Super corny. Super corny stuff.
He flew a Thanos cap.
He was in a helicopter with his name on the side. Nuts.
Doug. But that was cool, man. Just to see, like, you could see a fan over 30 years old, or we're 40 plus, kind of just being like, "Thank you," like that was our childhood.
I don't know what you're talking
that was
about.
our childhood. For those of us who are 40 plus,
yeah.
So their layer.
I read back issues, son.
That's fun. I will pull these comic books from right over here and date them.
He's like, "Yo, fam, you bought that when you was 12."
Don't even go there with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we flip back to the TVA. This is kind of where they have the Miss Minutes kind of agreement. So okay, we're flipping back and forth. So back in the lair, this little bowling alley where the Lokis kind of assemble, we have this moment where they're kind of just joking around. We kind of learn a little bit more of their backstories, which is very, very important. Boastful Loki it kind of lies about taking out Captain America and Iron Man, and getting all the Infinity Stones. Yeah. Like he's,
and Alligator Loki calls him a liar.
Out of all of them, he gets called out by Alligator Loki.
He said, "Shut your big ass up."
He proceeds to jump up and bite his hand. Like the CGI is so far gone at this point, bro. Yeah. They're able, because it's one thing to have.
I never felt like it. Like I was watching a TV show. Like never. The animation and the CGI is just like so on point. And
the audience doesn't realize how many tricks film, story makers create so that animated, animated objects don't have to interact with the real world, so that they can pull these things off. But just seeing this, there's no shame. Like they go full forward, and it's just done really well. So anyway, we hear their respective stories, and like you said, remember I was asking, I was like, "Yo, is this like the Thor's hammer? Like, is this guy worthy?" But of course not. He kind of just made his own hammer because I think he just has that bravado. I think that's just a part of his character. Classic Loki. Of course, regular Loki's asking classic Loki, we're supposed to have died after Ragnarok, right? He saw himself die at the TVA, so he's trying to kind of trace these events. You kind of have to ask yourself what events are parallel. What are they doing together? What are they not? Yeah, it's interesting that that they went that route there for me, that they had classic Loki basically telling the story as if he got to that same point that, our Loki got in his existence, because I would assume that he branched off in a different point. But, it is what it is. So, yeah, Loki spent a lot of time in solitude. Just kind of getting away, because he said so classic Loki
says at that point when Thanos was about to snap his neck, he projected a duplicate. He used his magic to produce a duplicate so real that he was able to mask himself as debris, and not even the Mad Titan could tell the difference that wasn't actual real Loki that got his neck snapped.
Right.
So then once he made himself look like debris, he just drifted off into space until he got to a planet that was desolate, and he stayed on that planet alone because he felt like it's what he deserved, basically.
And that takes you back to Sif's words, you'll always be alone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a sad story, I thought.
Definitely for sure.
It definitely wasn't like a happy tale.
And then for him to get to the point where what we gotta assume is thousands of years later, right?
Right. They're not living our lives.
He's like, yo, I miss people. I miss my brother. So let me get up out of here. And as soon as he gets up to get off that planet,
right.
TVA
the second I set a foot off the planet,
yeah.
You could tell TVA was on it. Beep, 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 beep.
Right.
Boom, boom, boom. There he is. And they got him. The interesting part is you don't really hear boastful Loki's, story about him and Thor.
Yeah.
But Kid Loki killed Thor. And then, classic Loki's love for Thor ended up getting him captured and pruned,
Mm-hmm.
So the relationships are definitely just so different.
Yeah, I don't think for boastful Loki we even got what his Nexus event was that got him captured.
Right. They're like, he's black.
Facts. Get that mirror.
Basically. There's a Negro Thor, guys. I mean, a Negro Loki, guys. That's pretty much all he needs.
Blackie?
If they get mad at Sylvie being a woman,
no, he gotta go.
You can tell that team. I gotta record that. The TVA, the moment they found out there was a black Loki out there,
they clipped him.
They clipped him fast. They sent all of the TVA employees.
Wow.
Excessive force.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was a really cool interaction. That's one of my favorite scenes, honestly. Like I said, I can watch them Lokis interact forever.
Yeah.
They were drinking wine, like Rock's Cart wine.
Yeah.
Kid Loki was drinking a high C.
Ecto
cooler.
Yeah.
I remember those things from elementary school. Like that was just hilarious. Like I laughed outside.
Shout out to the Ghostbusters.
Shout out to the Ghostbusters, right? Slimer was on the front.
Right.
There's a video game in the back. Is it Polybius? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Yeah, Polybius. That is a urban legend. That video game was supposed to be something that was allegedly hypnotizing people.
Yeah, or it was so addictive that people were just playing it for months on end or something. I can't remember.
But it was supposed to be a government created, some sort of government created mind control device.
But it was never actually. It's just an urban myth.
Right, it's definitely not real. Yeah. We have video games that do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that had that video game in the back there, which is a cool little Easter egg.
Marvel Contest of Champions. Anybody play?
Oh wow,
I play that
love
every
that.
day. You play it?
I haven't played it in a while.
Oh, fam, you gotta play.
I haven't played it in a while. But Loki pretty much has a plan. Well, he introduces the idea of Sylvie, of a female variant, and they're like, ugh, gross. Girls are gross. And Loki's really singing her praises. He's like, no, she's really awesome.
He's no, she's terrifying. But that's what makes her great.
Right, pretty much. She's smart, TVA, blah, blah, blah. He's pretty much singing her praises.
Yeah, and
they're not really so.
And he's like, and she has a plan. She did we want to overthrow everything, but she wants to destroy it. And she needs me.
Yeah.
It's word?
Yeah.
Why are you talking like this, Loki? What's up?
You've never heard Loki talk about anyone like this.
Yeah.
So he pretty much pitches the idea of killing Alioth.
Mm-hmm.
And I need your help. I can use your help, guys. I mean, he's really, going for the gusto, real positive. And then looking at him and they just bust out laughing. Because obviously, Alioth is just another level of power that they're just not privy to.
Yeah, their whole thing at this point is to stay alive, to survive, right? And the reason that we're seeing all of these Lokis and we're not really seeing anybody else, there's no other people of variance around, is because of something that Loki said in episode 3, right? Lokis survive. It's what we do. So
Yeah.
Demogene, what's up, bro?
Yo, what's up? We're just catching up on getting through this episode of episode 5.
Yeah.
But this point right here was a pretty pivotal point when they laugh him off. Loki goes upstairs and opens the portal, or the door rather, and he sees a whole team of variants, including President Loki.
Yes.
Now we all saw, the advertisements. I was curious, when they bringing in President Loki.
It's really interesting because I thought that our Loki was President Loki.
Of course.
And
when are they going to do that?
And I also didn't realize that any of the other people surrounding him were Lokis.
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize that until I watched this episode, and I was like, yo, like those are different Lokis.
One of them is one of the Lokis that they showed in that rotation.
The one with the locks. His locks were his sword. Yeah.
Right, which is dope in and of itself.
So there are 2 blackies.
Nappies. No, so they
I can't cut. We're live.
Aight So Boom. Yo, that's why you're here, man. But no, that was probably one of the dopest shots as well. Just him looking at himself, and he's just like, yo, this is a nightmare, yo. So we learned that this President Loki plotted with Black Loki to boastful Loki to pinpoint their location. So that he can get some supplies. He'll give him the army. They'll kind of do a little barter system. But you can't trust a Loki, can you?
Right.
Which is kind of silly if you're trusting a Loki, if you're a Loki.
You should know better.
You should know better.
I'm just saying.
I guess Black Loki is a little too trusting. So, so pretty much that kind of sparks this little a fight, basically.
Yeah.
Between all of the Lokis, which was pretty cool. What do you think of that?
I thought the fight was cool. It was in watching the fight, it seemed a little bit hokey to me, just a little bit, but I was rolling. I'm cool. And you see, our Loki Prime in this universe, right? Like sneaking off like this, like I don't want to be a part of this.
Right.
And so he's getting out of the way, and everybody's fighting, and then Alligator Loki bites President Loki's arm of a hand off.
Right.
And
that was pretty cool.
Yeah. That part was dope.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, that wasn't a scene for the fighting, right? It was more like a melee kind of situation.
Yeah.
Classic Loki creates
the projections so real.
He's just nice at it.
And not just of himself, of like the whole all squad, of them, right?
The whole Loki
So they're
squad.
down there fighting. He's like, yeah, let's go. and they get up out of there.
And it's dope, man, because, I mean, if you think of Loki's character in the Avengers movie, he was that's the first time he kind of used that. Like, they kept that going. That's a consistent, power of his.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated the level up of power because I always felt like,
Right. And it gave you the impression, okay, these variants have different levels.
Yeah.
This is classic Loki. He's thousands of years old. He's obviously very good at this.
Yeah. I mean, he had plenty of time to practice while he was on that planet all by himself, right? He's like, I'll make a friend.
Right.
I'll make another friend.
Right. He probably made himself a lot over there. Now we have Sylvie, who has been pruned or self-pruned. Don't do it to yourself, guys. Talk to someone. Never self-prune. She wakes up in a truck. Doesn't know what's going on, but pretty much Alliath is like right above her.
Yeah.
So she's running from the cloud, and there's a car. I don't know how they get gas on this planet.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it falls out of the sky like everything else.
Thanks. Along with the ecto cooler.
Right.
So Mobius, who we found out who was pruned prior, definitely ask questions if you're here. Definitely in the chat. Definitely ask us any kind of question at any point in time. Let us know if you're following along. But pretty much Mobius and Sylvie have a moment, right? They haven't really interacted that much. I remember he wanted to question her, and he wanted to kind of get close to her and find out what's up, but he was never allowed to. So they pretty much team up and realize that they kind of have to work together.
Yeah. They get their we're on the same page conversation out really quickly. She's like, you're you're a jerk because you're working for, the oppressor. And he's like, yeah, sorry about that. And he's like, yeah, you was killing people too. And she's like, yo, fam, I did what I had to do.
Right.
And then he's like, yeah, I understand that. All right, let's go. And then,
right.
down there on the same page.
He's pretty much like, when you think that you're doing everything for the greater good, which is very true. And, Thanos, from any kind of, villain,
right.
They feel Killmonger. They feel they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And you'll kill, genocide, homicide. Nothing means anything.
Yeah.
Even in this little scene, we see a Sphinx in the background, which is kind of cool.
The Sphinx, yes. Which, if you don't know, not Immortus, Kang, who we've been, referencing over and over again in this,
over and over.
When he comes back to obviously Kang's from the future. He comes to the past, and he's like, "Oh man, I should go even further back and take over from way before." Right, so he goes to ancient Egypt, but he does it within a Sphinx spaceship. Right. So that is another
way the white man tried to say that black people didn't build the pyramids.
Well, but in MCU, Kang is a black man, so
that's true. Look, that's true. That's true.
Jonathan Majors is a black man,
that's
right?
True.
But also, and maybe one of the reasons that they made choices.
I didn't think about that, bro. Till you just said that, because that would give him a lot of room to go back and do this storyline.
And also probably the reason why they made Ravonna a black woman. It's just a little bit of thought in my head, right? Mm-hmm. But also, the Avengers Tower said
Kang.
It said Kang on it, spelled with a Q. Right? Which was the corporation that was run by Nathaniel Richards, another iteration of Kang. They are not letting us not look in this direction. They're telling us, yo, fam.
Yeah, they're screaming it.
Aliath, the Sphinx, the name on Avengers
the Kang
Tower.
On the building was a lot. That's huge.
So at some point in time, the Avengers, they sell Avengers Tower to Nathaniel Richards, who is a businessman. They don't realize that he's Kang at the time, right? But they sell it to him, and he changes the name of it to like Kang Tower or whatever it is, but not Kang with a K, Kang with a Q. Anyway, doesn't matter.
That did a lot, because the first thing we saw, that's the Avengers Tower. Okay, we're familiar with it.
You can't give me all of these clues telling me like, yo, first we're gonna give you Ravonna, then we're gonna talk about time. We're gonna beat you in the head with time travel over and over and over again, right? Then we're gonna put this Sphinx that Kang used to fly around in. Then we're gonna give you Aliath, which was his arch nemesis,
right?
In the cloud that was hanging all over what's it called? Chronopolis, or his city, which was like, a chronosphere of time where, it was his base of operations, Kang, what we're talking about again here. They really, really want you to believe this is not like Mephisto where the internet
right.
went out on a limb on their own and said, yo, Mephisto, it's gotta be Mephisto.
Yes.
We did that. Yes. But in this show, they're telling us, yo, look that way.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, not everybody, but the people who know the source material, they're telling us, yo, look this way. And it may be a misdirect, or it may just be, especially knowing that Kang is already cast for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We have to assume that they are pointing us in the proper direction, but we can get to the very last episode and never see this dude.
And I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think we're going to see Kang in the next episode. Like, that would be ridiculous. But they've done so much to prep that I believe, they're just making his job easier, and I forgot the director's name, but he has a lot of pressure to introduce a serious character into the MCU.
You think so?
Yeah. The same guy who directed, the same guy who directed Ant-Man and the Wasp was doing
why? Why? Well, we'll get into that later once we get to the end. I'll ask that question again and put a pin in that.
Okay, cool. Put a pin in that one. So the Lokis are still conferencing, and pretty much they eventually meet up with the Mobius and the Mobius and Sylvie squad. But before that, actually, the ship drops. They're kind of studying Alioth because, of course, Loki wants to destroy Alioth.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of sit back and observe Alioth in action, right? And you can see matter falling from, you know, different portals and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the ship. The USS Eldridge, which is a real life ship.
Philadelphia experiment.
That disappeared.
Yeah.
You know,
in the
using
40s.
Different experiments and different, you know.
Yeah, they were testing some cloaking devices back in the 40s for this ship in real life, and you know, they say that it disappeared, you know, out of thin air, docked, not in the water, but like on land, like the ship just like disappeared. So for them to explain this through the show, where this ship just like falls out of the air, like that, this is where it went. You know, same thing they did with DB Cooper, like in the first episode. Right.
Those are the two major ones that I've seen in this show that were just real events that was able to really just ground the show.
Other, if we can just get all of the Easter eggs that we remember out of the way.
Sure.
They showed the statue.
Exactly where you're going.
A statue head of the living monolith.
The living tribunal.
Right.
Which is big.
Right, that's pretty huge.
Remember the first reference of the living tribunal?
Doctor Strange.
Yeah. You know, that staff.
Yeah, Mordo.
Mordo.
Yeah, Mordo.
He was holding a staff from the living tribunal where they're kind of getting this magic from.
But you got to think, I mean, living tribunal is huge. That was a really small staff. It would have been more like, this is not his staff. This is toothpick.
This is toothpick.
Yeah. What else? I saw from the first Avenger, Red Skull's ship.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Which is interesting. I think we're going to see Red Skull again.
I don't think so.
I think we're going to see Red Skull again.
I think we may see Red Skull's descendants, like his daughter, who was in the comic books. She was, I think her name might have also, her name was Sin.
Okay. I'm not familiar with his daughter.
Yeah.
She had a red face too?
Eventually, I think she did. I don't think beginning wise she didn't, but I think maybe she wore a mask to like represent her dad's face or something like that. What else did we see? There was a motorcycle. No one.
Yeah, I mean, my major ones, I remember, of course, Thanos Copter, of course, Frog Door. There was the Red Skull one was the one I remember. I don't remember. I mean, if other ones come up, we'll definitely make a note.
I might take some pictures of these.
And definitely, if you're in the chat and you saw any, definitely throw it in there.
Yeah.
At this point in the story, we have to visit my girl B-15 because she's incarcerated. I got my girl locked up, and they won't let her out. So my girl Ravonna, these are the two.
Oh, the Shield helicarrier.
Yes.
Which had a Hydra logo on it.
Yes.
So you know.
Yes.
And the one of the Kree ships, was it, or the Dark Aster?
Okay. Yeah. The yes.
Yep, we saw that ship as well.
Yes. They definitely used it to kind of just literally sprinkle the land with Easter eggs to just make sure that.
If you know, you know. That's what that was.
Yeah, seriously. Because you could have watched it with no knowledge and still enjoyed it.
Totally.
But if you're watching it with a nerd, they're just freaking out every 5 seconds. You know why.
Thanos Copter.
That was crazy. Google Thanos Copter. You'll see exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's nuts.
B-15 is in this little prison. I like the prison that she was in. It's like this little red energy bubble, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, looked a lot like the prison that Loki was in on
Thor.
Yeah, in Thor.
Yeah, that little patch, those little energy patches. Of course, we're learning a lot more about, Ravonna, of course, her intentions. B-15 is just fully converted, fully, conspiracy, take it down. And of course, Ravona's not going to let him do that. Who you they're talking about loyalty, and where's loyalty if the timekeepers aren't even real,
right?
But Ravona's still trying to keep it under wraps because, according to her, she's still trying to find out who's behind the curtain.
Yeah.
So it's important that we kind of keep everybody in this lie until we find out the truth, which of course is never the right thing to do.
I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you believe that Ravonna doesn't know? Do you think that that what she's saying is true and she doesn't know any more than what we think she knows?
I think she knows more because I think, I don't know, man. And this of course is another Kang conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if I had faith that Kang was going to be in this show, I would have a different answer. But I wouldn't be surprised if at the end she kind of snickers, like, I know, and you kind of leave it at that.
I could see it in either direction. Like either she knows, right, and she's already in cahoots with Kang, or this is her introduction to Kang. You know what I'm saying? Where she first meets him, and then he explains himself or in some way that makes her say, "Oh, I want that power too," and he's like, "Oh, okay, come with me," and that's how their relationship starts.
Yeah, either maybe because I'm thinking either two things. Maybe either she dies and then we see him angry, but of course no. Maybe would they have had this relationship already, or is she going to be a character we see and they kind of they kind of get together later?
Two things that bother me. First is when Ravonna lost Sylvie, she went to the timekeeper's room, right? Mm-hmm. What did they say to her? Right? Did they be like, "Oh, it's okay that you lost her. We'll just make you a judge now"? Like that makes no sense. So how did it in messing up, in losing this Loki, how did you get promoted? Right? So did you actually speak to who's behind the TVA and then you guys work something out? Or that bothers me at any rate, and we may never get the answers to that. I'm not expecting the answer to that, but that little piece bothers me. That
makes sense. She
went in there and she spoke to them, and did they not reprimand you for losing this Loki? Another thing that bothers me is after Sylvie let off all of these time bombs, right? Everybody went crazy for a couple seconds, and then next episode starts and it's like it didn't happen.
That's true.
So what was aside from her? Obviously, for Sylvie, it was the ability that allowed her to sneak into the TVA because all of the hunters had to leave to go, try and clip all of these new timelines that she was creating, right? So it allowed her to get in without, too many guards trying to get at her. But what was the actual effect of all of these time bombs that she let off?
They never
and all of these branches that started coming out of nowhere. They never addressed that.
They didn't. That is interesting. Because that should have started this
multiversal madness war or something. Or and in creating these timelines, right? Did you just recreate timelines that were already there, or did you create brand new timelines?
Right. It's very possible that because the writer of Loki is the writer for Multiverse of Madness, that's another thing I could see at the end.
It being that could be explained, later on. Like she created this multiverse.
Like this happened. This still happened. We didn't.
Yeah. I could see that.
We were doing other things with the story, but that definitely happened.
Yeah, but it seems like so many people like the show said this happened, and they're like, "All right, look over here," and everybody looked over here, and I'm like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah. I mean, that's why we're here.
That's what we do.
You can't get biased like that, Marvel.
No,
so I agree. I think it would be a glaring misstep to kind of ignore that.
Just gloss over that, right?
You can't gloss over. Yeah. You can't create all these rules and then when one's broken, kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. So watch out for that. I have like a couple after credit sequences I think are happening. That probably won't. So all right. So now we're back. okay, so we're back in the world. Okay, so Miss Minutes and Ravonna are kind of going back and forth plotting, and it's kind of giving a little bit even deeper insight to Miss Minutes and how much of a thinker she is. You know, she's taking orders, yes, but is Miss Minutes someone who knows more than Ravonna? Ravonna asked her for the files for the beginning of the TVA.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Minutes is like, oh, okay, well, that's a hard, that's not easy to do. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Is it, clearance? Is it a clearance thing? Why would Ravonna not have clearance?
Right.
Does Miss Minutes have this information? That is she holding back the information?
Right.
Is she making the decision
again? Right.
Right. So that's another kind of thing with Miss Minutes is are we gonna know this next week? Are we gonna find out who Miss Minutes is?
Yeah, I think she has a direct line to whoever is behind the dark cloud.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, we'll get that later. We'll get to that later. Okay, so we have Loki. Loki and Sylvie have this.
Cute... Talk about yourselves. I need more wine.
Yeah, refill. Loki and Sylvie have this intimate moment. Where Loki gets cold.
Grape juice, not wine. Grape juice.
Tennessee. Loki and Sylvie have this intimate moment where Loki creates a blanket for just himself while they have this heart-to-heart conversation. So you can see he's not there yet, but he's almost there. Cheers. All right, so boom. Thanks. Cheers from Rock's Cart. So yeah, they have this little moment of this little connection where he creates this little blanket for himself. Yeah, we have the green screen.
We can use it.
That's hilarious how you can hear everything. What's up, Loki? That's how you do it, y'all. So we've had the Aiight So Boom show going on every week for the last few weeks, and we would always have a green screen behind us so that we can place, graphics to explain the episodes. So because our little man is green over here, we got him on the side, just collecting dust.
Because his body disappears when it's on a green screen.
It just messes it up, man. It just messes it up. Anyway. So yeah, so after that little intimate moment, the Lokis are pretty much trying to come up with a plan to destroy Alioth.
Mm-hmm.
And they're pretty much like, all right, well, we'll help you to a certain point, but we're, classic Loki literally is like, we'll help you get there, but there's no way we're going to fight Alioth.
Right.
You're pretty much on your own when it comes to that. And Sylvie is positive that she could enchant Alioth, which nobody, really agrees with. It sounds crazy. Excuse me, even to me, I'm like, you're gonna enchant this cloud? Okay, you're pretty powerful, so we'll see, But the whole basis is kind of them kind of realizing what power sets they have. And Loki's like, I'm gonna come with you.
Okay, yeah.
She didn't say you had to come with him, with her. It's pretty much a suicide mission, but Loki volunteers to be selfless, even though it's a suicide mission. He's shown a lot that he has a lot of love for Sylvie. Something I never thought I would see.
Right.
So he literally said, if you go, I go. Like my buddy.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the premise of Loki and the core of his being for the past decade that we've been watching these movies, right, is that he is self-serving and only self-serving. If it doesn't serve him, he's not going to do it.
Right.
If he's not going to get something out of it, he's not going to do it.
Right.
So now to see him change into this character who cares about others and does something that may or may not be in his best interest, is a complete turn of this character. I'm really interested, and I know I'm probably getting ahead of myself, right? If we keep Loki, do we keep this Loki? Because Tom Hiddleston can play any Loki, right? Doesn't have to be this Loki.
Who else could he be?
You can kill this Loki and perhaps get the Loki back that Thanos snapped the neck of, right? Or you not get him anymore at all, and you get Sylvie. Or at the end, once they get to that castle, they both die, and now we only got Kid Loki left. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different ways they could go about it. I'm sure Tom Hiddleston is not done.
That's what I'm saying. That's all to do with his contract. I don't know what his contract looks like.
But if it's him, which version of him do we get? Do we keep this one that has had to run through this show?
So.
Because it would be really cool, right? If we did all of this and he gets all this character development, and he gets in there and he gets killed by another version of himself, and he's just bad Loki again. He's like, you know what? We don't need another good guy. We need another great villain. You know what I'm saying?
Evil Loki all along, yeah.
Like we have,
that would be kind of savage.
We have so many heroes, right?
That'd be savage.
Every one of these movies, we got heroes, we got teams of heroes, we got the Eternals, we got the X-Men coming, we got the Avengers, we got the Young Avengers, we got Shang-Chi, we got all of these heroes. Yeah. We need a really good bad guy. Yeah. So just kill him off with another version of himself.
That'd be savage.
That'd be ill.
That'd be savage. I think that would get people mad though.
It would, but it would make you hate him, and you'd love to hate him because he killed the best version of him.
That would be savage. I think a lot of people feel like they wasted their time watching the show.
Nah, because you probably still keep Sylvie. Like the Enchantress would still be around.
I think she's gonna stay around.
You think so?
I do.
I think so too.
I don't think she's gonna. I think she's gonna be in the. I can see her in the films.
Or listen, this could be a tragedy. She could die at the end, and he stays around, right? So now he's changed, but he knows the feeling of to have loved and to have lost.
That'll be interesting if she dies.
Which would make you empathetic to other people, right? So he comes super full circle. Like he understands what it is to love someone and what it's like to have someone taken away from you. So now he knows that that's something that he never wants to do to somebody else.
That's interesting. That'd be interesting if she dies. Imagine if they have a kid. That'll be a Nexus event.
You know, another question I always had.
What's that?
Loki don't look like that.
What do you mean?
Loki's blue. He's a frost giant.
Oh, okay. He uses powers to...
Right. So every Loki doesn't want to be a frost giant?
That's a good point. They definitely skirted that whole frost giant. You know, they say it, but they don't kind of...
We've seen times where you've seen him like blue, and I think he had like reddish eyes or something like that.
The first Thor movie.
Right. But then it's like, nah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I hear you. It is interesting to hear. Like I said, I could listen to their stories all day. What happened to you, Loki? Yeah. What happened to you? Like that could be a full episode of just.
But
what
is it
happened
like
to you.
Self-denial to like want to look like the white man rather than a frost giant?
Nothing wrong with being blue, guys. Guys, if you're blue,
it's not easy being blue.
Just be blue. Be you. Was it Sammy Sosa?
That dude.
He went full bleach. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yo, it's crazy. You know, that stuff is crazy. There's a beauty supply store down the block, and they have a whole aisle of bleaching products.
Them bleach out the skin.
A whole aisle. Not like one or two products on a shelf, like in the beauty store. A whole aisle of lighten your skin.
Because it sells.
In Brooklyn. Not in Jamaica, right. In Brooklyn.
No, it's crazy. Culturally, that's another topic, y'all. But yeah, Mobius offers, because Mobius has a tempad.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, okay, I'm leaving because I don't have to be here.
Yeah. Well, Sylvie hands the tempad to Loki. Loki's like, nah, I'm staying. And then he hands it to Mobius. Mobius like, all right, guys, see you later.
Mobius
kind of sounds like Kermit the Frog. Anyway.
I can't,
wow.
You know, as far as I didn't see the big buzz of Owen Wilson, you know, like I know his movies, I love Wedding Crashers, but I wasn't like, Owen Wilson! Like,
no, I wasn't like that, but I completely appreciated him in the show. 100%. I thought he was great.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
He offers the variants a way home, a way out.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, not bad.
Nuts. It's nuts because his whole life was like, no, you're a variant, you don't belong.
Right.
You're anti. You don't belong. So, for him to be like, hey guys, do you want to hop on the bus with me? Like,
and Kid Loki's like, nah, this is our home, which is
weird.
Also deep.
Yeah.
I definitely would have gotten out of there. I was like, bye. Bye, Gator. You coming, Gator? Like,
right.
Later, Gator. I kill myself. So pretty much classic Loki's like, we survived this long, we're survivors, and he gives him the dagger, the golden dagger.
Right.
Now, this dagger's...
GMS, what up? You got any questions? It's my bro, GMS.
G, what up, man?
We just put up a new episode of MCMI Report. Well, not a new episode, a new clip from episode 3 of MCMI Report with my co-host, GMS, also my partner in my group, Hydra, also my partner in the company, MCMI, who hosts this channel, MCMI Report.
Hydra, not to be confused with the bad SHIELD agents.
No, not them. 3-headed monster Hydra.
Equally as powerful.
Yeah, shout out to my brother Wild Child too.
What up, G? But yeah, we're gathering into the dagger, because you know about this dagger, right?
I forget what it's called, but yeah, he gives him this golden dagger, which is, it's a little too long to be a dagger and a little too short to be a sword. But I forget the name of it. But it
does have some significance.
Yeah, I don't. And in mythology, in Norse mythology, but
so he gives him the weapon, and they pretty much have this confrontation with Aiight. Now, as far as villains go, you're fighting a comic character villain. It can be done in many different ways. We've seen DC Comics use this cloud idea. Marvel used it too in Fantastic Four.
Galactus.
Fighting these clouds, and it's just like the corniest.
Time out. That black cloud, Galactus, was the wackest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I was so disrespectful.
I was so mad.
It was so disrespectful.
So mad.
It was so disrespectful. And even I remember the first time I'm watching it, Blitz, being like, trying to look into the cloud, like, am I going to see an image of him?
Like a hand or something's got to come out of it.
Is it a face? Like, you're like, is it? No, that's not it. No.
You would have been better off doing the, the Annihilation Wave with that rather than doing Galactus. But you can't make Galactus a goddamn black cloud.
We all know who Galactus is. It was Green Lantern. Also, I forgot the name of the villain already. Parallax. Another dark cloud, corny. But this was a little different because you're using a psychic attack on a cloud,
and Aiight is supposed to be a big purple cloud.
Yeah,
he is that?
Right,
that's what
correct.
it is. So
right. First off, he is a purple cloud. Right. So you're not transforming something solid out of laziness. Into a cloud. It's consistent with the comics, and it's a psychic attack on a cloud, which is a very interesting thing that shouldn't really work. But they made it work.
Graham Sabursky said, MS said, what are the powers of the dagger? Well, if you hold it up and you say, I have the power, you get really big muscles, and all your clothes come off. And
your pussy gets real mean.
Is Cringer a Loki? He's green.
He is green.
And yellow.
Listen, pussy Loki.
Was there a slight face of like a wolf or dog?
Yes. I believe they were merging, because in the comics he doesn't have a face like that. I think they were merging a lot, just some sort of animal. They had that wolf from Ragnarok. I think they're just fusing an animal personality to this cloud.
Yeah, I think they were just, trying to give it a face, but like a more savage face than like giving it like a humanoid face.
Right. It's like a flat face in the comics. That wouldn't have put on.
Yeah. I don't think there was any like real significance to it. Like, they were trying to make him look like anything. Although the fact that they called him a void in the beginning was like, are they doing like the void? But not, from the comics, Sentry and the Void. I thought they were going in for a split second, but they weren't.
That would have been a lot, because you'd have to explain the Void.
Yeah.
And that's different from what they were trying to do. So they had this little fight where pretty much Sylvie is into the front, and Loki's trying to distract the Void to follow him. And they did a pretty good job of kind of just redirecting, and they literally got to a point where they were holding a part of.
Well, they were waiting for a new branch to come off of Aiight, which is really interesting to me that he created branches, right? The same way that time variance causes branches in time, right? So it's kind of like the anti.
Right, it's the opposite.
Time branch is like a branch off of Aiight. So they were trying to get his attention so that he would make a branch so that they could grab onto the branch. They basically needed something to hold on to. They needed an arm to hold on to. Yeah. So they're trying to get his attention, right, to get this branch to happen. Yeah.
So they're running around. Loki's trying to get his attention and distract it away from Sylvie, and he finally does. He's able to do it, but not before the major distraction. And the only reason why they were able to accomplish this is because classic Loki pulls up and pretty much creates a simulation of Asgard.
Yeah, our Loki, I think, gets his attention for a split second, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work long enough because he's just one dude by himself, waving this dagger around that's on fire, and it wasn't enough to divert his attention from Sylvie, who was about to die. Right. So, classic Loki comes out of nowhere. Classic Loki. We're gonna get closer. Classic Loki. Oh shoot! Sorry, my bad. Classic Loki. Classic Loki comes and basically builds an entire facsimile of Asgard out of nowhere, man.
Yeah, which was very interesting to do.
That was dope.
And he literally, glorious purpose. If you think of his life, his trajectory, him being able to.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. We talked about it. We talked about that last week. GMS is saying how Loki's powers are undefined, but I think they did a better job of it in this episode than they did in previous episodes. But I'll get back to that after you finish.
Yeah, classic Loki creates this huge, version of Asgard. But he can't hold it up forever, right?
Right.
And of course, this is a big illusion, so it takes up a lot of energy.
Yeah.
But it is enough to distract Aiight. And Loki has that line, we are stronger than we realize.
Yeah.
Which is important.
This classic Loki is the elder Loki, so he has more power, right? Because he's had more time to practice. Not to mention that he's been stranded on a planet by himself for probably thousands of years, so he's had a ton of time to practice and just hone his skills. And that's what I was getting at with that, G. But also, every Loki's life is different, so every Loki's powers are different, right? I feel like every Loki has a certain amount of energy within them to create things or to exert into power or magic.
Yeah.
But if they don't have the life experience, then they don't realize that they can do these things.
Very true. And I think of Loki, I don't think powers as much as I think magic. You know what I mean?
Right. I think they all have the same level of power within them.
Right.
But to learn the magic, you have to go through life. You have to go through experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
Sylvie taught herself, for instance.
Right.
Sylvie said, she knew she had the power, but she taught herself this particular skill set.
Right. Our Loki had his mother who taught him what she knew.
And she was a witch as well.
And then you have, classic Loki who learned what he knew probably on his own just through time.
Yeah.
And putting down the daggers because he had no use for them because there's nobody around. What do I need these daggers for if there's nobody to stab?
That is a conversation that they had prior with the Lokis were together, where classic Loki was like, y'all, I know y'all love the daggers, but it really takes away from the magic. And both of Loki's like, but they're so cool.
Yeah, gee, that when he bounced the building back up, that'll always annoy me to no end.
Agreed.
I can't. There's no defense for me of that.
Agreed.
It's like it looked cool, so they threw it in there, but he shouldn't have did that. When
Agreed.
in episode 3, was it 3? Yeah, in episode 3 when they're running from the guys in the blue knit sweaters, and and Lamentus is falling apart, and that pillar falls down, and Loki's like, I got this, and it just goes right back up.
No green energy,
Yeah.
no nothing. I don't know about that. I would submit that question to Kevin Feige. I don't know.
Yes, alligator Loki did learn his powers to bite. That's his power.
Yeah, I love me some alligator Loki. He bit my man's hand off. But yeah, this was just a big scene, glorious purpose. His character went full circle, and then Alioth comes and.
But wait, he says glorious purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because every other time that any Loki has spoken of their glorious purpose was again self-serving, right? To something that was going to help them. I'm going to become king of this realm, or I'm going to overthrow, the earth, or I'm going to kill my brother and all his, Avengers friends or whatever. And this time, it was an actual glorious purpose, because the glorious purpose is to be of service to others, right? And that's what he did. He was
glorious, all right.
Right. He was of service to the greater good, which was I thought was really awesome. And then he lets off this maniacal laugh, right? Which was just so perfect, because he's wearing this costume, right? Yeah. And there are so many instances in the comic books where you see this Loki in this costume doing that like maniacal laugh, but it was a twist on it, because he's doing it in doing something good rather than something, wicked.
Right. I mean, as an ode to the past, that was a love story that was a love note to Jack Kirby and, that whole era.
Yeah.
I didn't think they would go that far, but they went that far with this character.
And honestly, I didn't think that the cast, when you first saw it, a lot of times you look when they do comic accurate 70s or 60s, you're like,
why y'all doing this?
Oh, that's corny. But it never seemed corny to me. It never seemed corny to me.
Because they're variants.
Yeah.
That's why it works, because you were able to see different
But
ones.
not only that, you had an actor who was in it. He was in, a great actor that was that made it believable. Yeah. Even though he's wearing this wacky suit with the Kermit the Frog, cut out on it. You know what I'm saying? These giant horns.
Richard E. Grant.
Yeah, Richard E. Grant.
You had the right person in there.
He did a great job.
A lesser actor, you would have just noticed the costume.
Yeah.
Like, you look like an idiot. So.
And shout out to the people who made it, because they made it look. I think the weathered look of it gave it more realness. Yeah. A lot of times, like, what was the name of that show? Jupiter's Legacy. Yeah. And those or Shazam, the first Shazam, like those
costumes.
A lot of
it's obviously
you can take a comic accurate costume and make it look cheesy. Yeah. And this one was comic accurate, but not necessarily so cheesy for multiple reasons.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't trying to make him look tough or strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they wanted a good
actor. It was dope.
Right. They needed a good actor, and that's exactly what they did. But his mission was successful. Obviously, they were able to lock on to Alioth and enchant Alioth. Yeah. Loki was a little power conduit who kind of helped amplify the power,
Yeah, I mean, he didn't think that he could do it, and she's like, "You can do it because we're the same." So he does have the power of her. He has the power of classic Loki. He has all of these powers. You just have to know that you have that within you in order to do that or be that.
So when Sylvie latches on to Alioth and throws her enchantment powers on him, we're able to see this cloud kind of dissipate. And then what we see is a house
or a castle.
Or a castle, yeah, some sort of living space.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on this rock. And I know, like, in the concept art, they had shown this huge rock with a house on it. And then right behind it was the sacred timeline, like a stream.
Yeah, I mean, even in the show, you could see there was a bright white light, like going through basically the horizon of it.
Right.
And I would assume that was the representation of this.
I mean, so up close, I don't think the general public got that's what it was. But that's the sacred. That's allegedly the sacred timeline itself, represented. So
because he's at the end of time. This is the castle at the end of time.
So all the people who believe that the Earth is flat, like at some point there would be like something like this.
Yeah, you'd be right.
If you believe that kind of thing. So they're hold hand, they're hands held, dramatic moment, and they're kind of approached with this new sight, which is this house, this mansion,
with this bright yellow light on the top of it,
and it ends right there.
And that's where it ends, man. And
there's no after credit sequence.
Man, I watched until the very last the credits came through in French and in Spanish and Japanese. And I'm like, is it coming?
I fast forwarded and rewound it a couple of times. I'm like, no, I missed it. It must be really short. It must be short. No, I don't think it's here.
Nah, none of that.
Whatever. But it ended at a very, a cliff, definitely a cliff note.
Yeah.
A cliffhanger rather.
That was the penultimate episode of Loki, season 1. So my question to you, is who is in that castle?
It's Mobius.
You believe it's Mobius?
It's a loose theory, but Mobius may have been able to. I don't know. It's a very loose theory. It's either Mobius or Loki.
You don't think it's Kang? You think it's Mobius?
I don't think it's Kang. It would be too much at the last minute to pull a new character out of their butt. Remember what happened to WandaVision, guys? They're not trying to be as complicated as we think they are. They never are.
I think the easy way out is for it to be a Loki, right? The one Loki that we haven't seen that I know of is King Loki. We saw President Loki, we saw Classic Loki, we saw Kid Loki. We didn't see King Loki, and King Loki is the evilest of all the Lokis because he wins, right?
We haven't seen an evil Loki.
Right. We haven't seen a purely evil Loki. We've seen, one that is. I mean, boastful Loki and President Loki were
right, but they
whatever.
Weren't.
But also, Loki in this hasn't really, as many of these Lokis that we've seen, our Loki that we've been with at the beginning of this hasn't gotten a chance to battle himself. Right.
That'll be a WandaVision move.
And in this, it seems like the show is about who are you, right? And what type of person are you? And perhaps this other Loki offers him things, right? Because at some point in time, he has to be offered something because he told Sylvie that he wouldn't betray her. Because in this episode, she's like, "You're not going to betray me, are you?" And he's like, "I know what I did. I know why I did it.
That's true.
I'm not that person anymore, right?" But what if somebody gives him the option?
Sounds like that foreshadowing.
What if somebody's like, "But here's everything you've ever wanted," right? He has to have the opportunity to say, "I don't want that shit."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That has to come, whether it's from Kang or another version of himself. And and you would assume the easy way out is for it to be a mirror version of himself, for him to face himself or his older self and have to, come face to face with that and realize that he's not that person anymore, right?
That's interesting.
I'm personally tired of the in-boss being a darker version of who we already have.
Just did that.
In Ant-Man, you have Yellow Jacket, and Black Panther. You have Dark Black Panther and Killmonger, and
dude, WandaVision was right here. We had 2 visions in the last episode.
Yeah, and we got Vision and we got Bad Vision. It's Marvel has this problem of giving you a doppelganger, bad version of yourself to fight. Yeah. And throughout this show, we've had so many different Lokis, and I'm glad that within that he got to see parts of himself that he didn't like. Mm-hmm. Like even when he saw President Loki and he's like, oh, this is a nightmare, right? Or him, seeing boastful Loki and be like, this is stupid. Like right. for me to care so much about being in charge, right, rather than having something that's actually worth something. Right. I want to sidestep that, and that's what he did in that fight. He sidestepped the fight, like, yeah, let me get out of here, right? So for us to get to the top of the castle, and then it just be him again. I understand it if they do it, right. but I'd rather they just continue the story on and give me something else.
I hear you. Like, I don't, this story surprised me in many ways in the direction they went. I don't see it being anybody else but a Loki or a Mobius.
Let me see what's happening in the comments here.
I'd be very disappointed if it was a Loki. Like I said, we just saw Vision versus White Vision in the last episode. Yeah. A WandaVision. Seeing that again would be a little disappointing. But I don't think it's anybody new. And there hasn't been that many characters that they introduced that it could even be, It could be a variant of anybody. So I don't know, man. I don't have any major guesses. I don't want to think too much.
Yeah, I'm with you in the point of, like, I don't care what they do. I enjoyed the series. Mm-hmm. Episode 3 was the low point for me. Mm-hmm. I've already expressed that.
What was the high point?
Jeez, everything else. Everything else. Yeah. I enjoyed episode 1 and 2 because it was cerebral. Yeah. Episode 3 was just like, okay, you're trying to build this relationship for them. I get it, but you could do this a lot faster. Mm-hmm. Right. And then episode 4 was great to me. Episode 5 was great to me. So everything except episode 3 was really good to me. Solid. So I have no complaints for what they do next. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If they go the easy route and give us like another King Loki, which I think they're going to do, I'm cool with it. But we know you can't tell me that all of these Easter eggs towards Kang are not going to pay off eventually. Yeah. As long as they pay off eventually. If you put them there and you're like, psych your mind, we're just kidding. We just put that there to fool, the nerds. Yeah. Then fuck you guys. Yeah. But if you put them there to build for, the future, cool. I'm cool with that. I don't need you to give me Kang today or tomorrow or, Wednesday. You don't have to. But I realize that you're building rather than just putting things in the way to try and trick me. Because that would suck.
I think what they did was, they constantly have meetings, they constantly have notes. And I believe that because they're so connected that they had a few notes of this is what you can say about Kang, without obviously introducing him. And they took them notes seriously.
The Cloud's name again was Aiight. You spelled that wrong. G. G was saying he's confused as to why the black version of Loki with the hammer got separated from the group that was battling Aiight. So everybody separated when battling Aiight. Everybody left. If you watched, I'm sure you'll watch the episode again.
He also betrayed them as well.
Even classic Loki left with Kid Loki. But before all of that happened, boastful Loki, who is the black Loki that you're talking about, he betrayed them to the bad guy Lokis because President Loki came in and they made a barter where he would give their location to where they were with their supplies, and then he was supposed to be made president or king and be able to take over. But President Loki, who looks just like our Loki, Tom Hiddleston, It's like, yeah, nah, how about I just take everything and, that be that. Now that I'm here, you gave me your location. I've got everything I want. I'll just kill you guys. And I keep the supplies and I keep being king.
An army, yep.
So he was in a fight for the death. Most likely he probably died. And if he didn't die, he got beaten up pretty bad.
Yeah, Gator Loki took that hand.
Yeah. And Gator Loki. How could you forget Gator Loki? You asking about Blackie, but you're not asking about Gator Loki.
Listen, they showed Gator Loki and Throg in the same episode. I was like, yo, y'all got that.
That was dope.
Y'all got
very
that.
Dope.
That's just a brave thing to do. That's just a brave thing to do.
Yeah, that was me and Lauren, my wife was in watching saying the same thing. How come the Black Loki had to be the one to be the betrayer?
I mean, he's boastful
because in this, right, Kid Loki, he was pretty good, right? That's another thing that we didn't discuss. All of these Lokis, every one of them that are on this planet got clipped when they decided to change. When they decided to change their ways and make something better of themselves is when they got clipped.
How do we know that?
Because Kid Loki says it. He's like, every time we try to make something of ourselves, they take the TVA comes and gets us. When classic Loki had the realization that, I miss my brother.
Your brother. Speaking of your brother.
Wild Child's in here? He's like, I miss my brother. I miss you, bro. My brother's been in Italy for 18,000 years. Seriously. Anyway, he's like, I miss my brother. I'm gonna get up off this planet and go find him. Is the moment that the TVA clipped him, right? The Nexus event for Sylvie and our Loki Prime, is that happened when they came to the realization that they felt something for each other, and that Loki was like, I don't gotta be a bad guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I care about people.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So it's something about whoever is behind all of this realizes that
he's pure.
That he's a problem if he's good.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. The only thing that makes sense would be someone who accepts their Lokiness full-fledged.
Now, there's a thing that nobody's all good or all bad, right? But Loki,
all mischief.
But if Loki has balance, right? If he can be both and not just bad, then he's a problem.
Yeah.
Loki he's chaos, right?
Yeah.
And chaos causes change. And maybe this person doesn't want that change because this person wants to rule in a vacuum and not have to deal with whatever mischief, chaos that he can bring to them, right, if he's doing something that's not just self-serving, that is for the greater good, right? It's like, what happens when Loki joins forces with his brother, with Thor, or with the Avengers, or he does something that's out of character, because when you're doing something self-serving, it's like it's over here, it's in a box. Right. But when you're doing something for the greater good, who knows what's going to happen from that? What ripple effects is going to happen from that? So I think that's the problem in that, and I think that's why so many Lokis had to be clipped, because as soon as they realized that they were something other than just caring about themselves, then that's my take on it.
The only reason why I feel, and Loki's definitely a good candidate, but the only thing that throws me off the Loki scent is Miss Minutes. There's something about Miss Minutes that is just bothering me.
Yeah, I mean I totally agree that Miss Minutes is she knows everything, but she's not that the person.
She's not.
She's like the right hand. She's the right hand or the short hand.
And it's like, if it's evil Loki, how would a Miss Minutes benefit? I'm trying to think of how would Miss Minutes benefit the end boss, right?
What if Ravonna is a What if the Ravonna that we know is a variant
right.
of the Ravonna that is in the castle, and that Ravonna is Miss Minutes?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the formation of Miss Minutes that we see at the TVA is just a representation of that Ravonna, like, you know, with the joystick telling her what to say and do.
It could be Terminex. Is that her name?
Yeah, that's Ravonna's.
Imagine if it's like an evil version of Ravonna up in there.
What do you mean? Who is Miss Minutes? The orange clock. That's Miss Minutes.
Watch out! Did you not watch Loki?
I know he watched it. I know he watched it. He's up to date. He knows.
Miss Minutes is the only.
Yes, we are sipping wine.
We are sipping
Aiight
wine.
So
We're definitely paying
Boom.
attention, bro. We definitely paying attention. We just threw out an hour worth of nerd data.
I believed in that shit.
The animated thing, yes, the animated thing. Miss Minutes is the sentient clock that's walking around. I don't know what was her.
What's it called? Blacks on Film. He pulled out a big ass gun. He blew. Do y'all remember? Do you know what I'm talking about? Hollywood Shuffle.
Hollywood Shuffle. I know about Hollywood Shuffle.
That shit was
that's
unbelievable.
Oh my goodness.
He pulled out a big ass gun. No, never mind. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
The animated thing. Yes. I mean, Miss Minutes has displayed just some, you know, she knows a lot of things, and she knows where the bodies are buried and whatnot. So we have to assume that she has something to do with whoever's in charge of things.
He's talking about Hollywood Shuffle.
Oh my God. But yeah, any other theories that you have?
Is this your favorite episode?
Probably.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think because of the Lokis. The Lokis, like I said, that's it.
This is episode 5. I'm trying to think episode 4. Yeah, I think
I can't see you liking any other episode but more than this.
No, you know, the amount of fan service that they gave us with all the little Easter eggs, you know, Throg,
a lot.
Yeah, Kid Loki, classic Loki, like doing classic Loki's laughter, and it's very hard to beat.
It's hard to beat this episode.
I'm excited to see what happens next week, and whatever happens, I'm good with it. And that's how you know this is a good show, right? I don't care what happens next week. I'm good with it.
That is a very good thing.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't ruin this for me. You might.
Don't dare them.
You might, but
I hear what you're saying.
I don't think y'all can ruin this for me. I think it was a great series.
And we're learning as an audience, once again, Disney Plus is new. We're learning how to digest these shows, right?
Yeah.
We're learning how to
in a different way. It's a different, because we're so used to the instant gratification of an hour and a half, real quick, like boom, boom, boom. Tell me what happens at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, yo, you gotta wait for it. You gotta wait for it.
The first episodes are gonna be slow,
and even when we get to the end, you still gotta wait for it. You know what I mean? Because there's more to come. There's always more to come.
And because the ramifications cannot really get too high, that's why the last episode is always going to be like, you got to really temper. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is going to be dope,
but we still got movies to sell.
Exactly. We still need you to go to the movies, and we still need for our movie-going audience to be able to skip this.
Here's a question that I had. Do you think that we're going to get Loki and Sylvie in Love and Thunder?
No.
There's going to be no Loki in Love and Thunder.
I don't think so. He's not in the movie. He's not casted.
Okay.
I think that movie is chock full already. I don't think he's in that movie. I'll check and see if Loki. I definitely don't think Sylvie's in it. But I don't believe Loki's in that film.
I mean, that'd be more Love and Thunder, I guess.
I mean, they have Lady Thor to do.
Right.
You think I got time to do that story and then his love story? He needs his own film.
Yeah.
You know, do you guys like Enchantress? Sylvie, do you want to see Sylvie in the MCU? That's the question.
Here's another question. What do you think we're going to get in season 2 of Loki? Because it is confirmed that they are doing a season 2, right? So is it going to be more time travel stuff, or is it just going to be Loki in a set space?
See, the reason why it's hard to answer that because we don't know what the hell's going to happen with the TVA.
Yeah, you would think that at the very least you would want Mobius back, right?
Right. Maybe running the TVA.
Yeah, or maybe no TVA, and he's just like, on a wave runner, like, hey Loki, come over here.
I kind of feel that
wow.
TVA, as they're fascists and all this. It seems like they're doing some sort of good work.
Where?
I mean, there has to be some sort of eye on.
Listen, once something is alive, right? You let it live. If you assume that the only reason for a sacred timeline is control.
Yes.
That's it. It's control.
Yes.
So let the branches do what the branches do.
But you don't think that would cause a war?
I don't think it would cause
multiverse
a war.
Of madness.
I think every branch is probably happy on its own, and somebody was like, I want to control everything, so I have to get rid of some of these things because I know that they're there, and they may thwart my plans or whatever.
Well, we know from Secret Wars that there is such thing as a war of timelines.
It wasn't about timelines, though, was it?
Well, the concept that they were trying to much present.
Right, the second Secret War is about with the incursions and stuff like that.
Right, they're trying to present the idea of these. I thought that's what they were trying to kind of build to because I'm thinking in the future, and I know they're doing Secret Wars in the future.
Let's say there's no timekeepers. There's no timekeepers.
Let's say no timekeepers. There aren't any.
I just said it. There aren't any.
What happens to the timeline?
What happens to the time? What happens to what timeline?
Well, that's
there are multiple timelines. There are tons of timelines.
They were lying about there being one timeline.
Yeah, I mean, look, man. Did you see Spider-Verse? There's multiple Spider-Verses, right? They all coexisted just fine. Nobody was bothering anybody until Kingpin came around and tried to steal somebody's wife and kid.
This guy.
Like, what is he doing?
This big guy.
Jesus. And
just keep dating. Get a dating app.
Yeah. Look, I don't think that the timelines have problems coexisting. I think people have problems coexisting in the timeline that they're in. You know what I'm saying? Like the Kree and the Skrulls have a problem in the timeline that they're in. They're not going to another timeline to find Skrulls to beef with. So I think they can all exist separately and not really have a problem.
Damn.
But I think that there are people or entities that want to have control over everything and decide that for whatever reason I want some of these things to go away so that I have more control. I can't control all of these tentacles, but if there's only one tentacle, I can control that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
think it's Ravonna. The more I think about it,
you think it's Ravonna?
I think it's a variant of Ravonna.
Wow. I think there is a variant of Ravonna, like I was saying, whether it's Miss Minutes or not. But I do think that there is somebody standing beside her, and we won't see that someone. We won't see that someone.
It's very frustrating to know you know, and then know Kang's not in there because he's the missing piece.
But here's the thing, right? If all of this is how we see it.
Mm-hmm.
And Kang is affiliated with this show, then that means you cannot tell me that the TVA is not inside the quantum realm, because there's no other reason for you to tell me that Infinity Stones don't work.
I believe that.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I do believe that.
Yeah.
I do believe that. And I'm curious to know how much of Loki will we be reminded of in Quantumania.
Yeah, G says, I feel like there's too much to wrap up in only one more episode. I predict we will not like the resolution. I think there will be resolution for Loki.
Right.
But not for all your questions. Because the through line, or the thing that these shows are to do, is to make you spend money going to see the movies.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be that thread that, that you still have to pull on at the end, and you'll have to go see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and you'll have to go see Ant-Man Quantumania, you know, and all of those things. And that's why I think that the penultimate episode, this one, episode 5, you have to feel good at the end of this, right? And say whatever happens next, I'm good with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because once you get to the end, there's gonna be something like you're like, oh, I can't wait till XYZ comes out. Yeah. Because it's gonna happen. It's going to happen. Yeah. They do it every time.
Story gonna.
This story is most likely going to be continued.
A facet of it.
Yeah, I think. Look,
not directly.
So, guys, look. Multiverse of Madness, you should assume that, yes, you're going to see some of this because right now we're dealing with multiverses, right? So, yes, you are going to see some of this in Multiverse of Madness. You're going to see some of this in the next Spider-Man movie because we know that there are more than one Spider-Man, right? And that, you know, Tobey Maguire is coming back. What's the other guy's name? Garfield.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly he's coming back. We know
all the villains are coming back.
Right, all the villains are coming back from all of the old Spider-Man movies, right? So, like, Jamie Foxx is coming back. Molina's coming back as Doc Ock. We know that we're getting these characters from different timelines of Spider-Man movies, right? So all of this is going to play out for years to come within the Marvel Universe. And then we're going to get Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which is going to actually have Kang as its main villain. And, you know, then they'll have to deal with that, even though we've been talking about Kang throughout this whole show, like we've been talking about Mephisto in WandaVision. We know that he's the actual villain of Quantumania. So this is all world building. You know, it's universe building for what's to come next in the Marvel universe for quite a few years or quite a few movies to come. It's
gonna take a while.
Yeah,
I just looked it up. I mean, Quantumania doesn't come out until 2023.
Yeah.
Multiverse of Madness drops in my birthday of 2022. So we're gonna get that. You know, the multiverse is gonna be kind of taken care of.
So what comes next in the movies in terms of this stuff? Not Shang-Chi, and not Eternals is Spider-Man, because we know that Doctor Strange is in that Spider-Man movie, right?
Correct.
But we also know that we may be getting some multiverse stuff because of that fight we saw between. And it's confirmed that it was Wong and Abomination.
Was it confirmed that it was Wong?
Yeah. Kevin Feige said it's Wong.
Okay.
And Wong has hair now. That's why it might have thrown you off because before Wong didn't have hair.
I mean, he was getting his ass thrown around, so I couldn't quite see his head.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
it's
interesting.
Kang in the quantum world, 1,000 billion%. Yes.
Yeah, that's where that's his spot. That's where he dwells. In the end of Avengers Endgame, when Tony Stark, after Thanos bombs them from the future, he looks at him and goes, "When you mess with time, it tends to mess back." That right there was that was Kang's first shot out.
Yeah.
That was his first shot out. Well, I mean, if you consider the whole quantum stuff, but like, you know, that was definitely a way to say this is going to be our next villain. I can't wait. I can't wait for him, man. And just think of him as an actor. Jonathan Majors is going to.
Yo, fam, you cannot. There's no way in hell that you can tell me that wooden face behind her, as Judge Renslayer is on in her seat, is not Jonathan Majors. Because it didn't look like the dude that got his head cut off.
He didn't like any of the lizards in the. Yeah. Listen, I would have to break down exactly it. And remember, they ended one episode with it. Word, that's Kang. Exactly. I mean, they're throwing a lot of Easter eggs around. I just think it's very brave for them to do it for a movie that doesn't come out for another 2 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time to be throwing out Easter eggs. So I guess maybe we shouldn't be taking it as seriously as we are.
Look, I got nothing else to say on this episode. We will be back
tomorrow.
Oh. We'll be back next week, Wednesday.
Sorry.
Right? We'll be back next week, Wednesday, because I'm leaving on Thursday.
Yes.
We'll be back next week, Wednesday, to do a live on episode 6
Yes,
and
the
wrap
finale.
up the whole season, right?
Never party.
But we will also be back tomorrow to give you our review. G, you can come over. Keith, if you can catch a flight from Italy, you can come over. We're gonna sit here. I'm gonna set up my living room like a whole theater. We're gonna have popcorn bags and wings and all that stuff, and we're gonna watch Black Widow.
Black White Widow.
I was in the train station today, right? In Clinton Hill, and there's a Black Widow poster. And it says Black Widow. And then under the word black, they put white. And under the word widow, they put woman.
This is breaking all the way down.
Right. So anyway, obviously Black Widow comes out tonight at 3:00 Eastern Standard Time for us.
Okay.
And we'll be watching it here on my Disney Plus.
Now, did you purchase it, or you made the purchase already, or are you gonna do that tomorrow?
Man, I'll press the button and they take my $30 and we watch it. So
Take my money.
yeah,
guys.
we'll be watching that and giving you our right after review and feelings on the movie.
Big Karen Black Widow. I mean, she's been a character. Like she's been there.
Listen, Black Widow is.
White people are like, y'all don't own spiders.
So there's Clairvoyant, who's the original Black Widow, and then there's Natasha Romanoff, and then there is, what's the new girl's name?
Oh, I forgot.
Yelena Belova. They're all white women. Black Widow is always a white woman.
And trust me, like even the Black Widow, the squad of the team, I'm like, wait, y'all Marvel likes messing with these female femme fatales. I'm like, it's like the Dora Milaje. It's like the same, We'd love to see a fight between the Dora Milaje and the Black Widows.
That'd be dope. That'd be
wax
fire.
that ass.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if Black Widow and whatever her name is, the new Black Widow, if those two young ladies can swap all of these, out of the Dora Milaje will clean them up in a heartbeat.
Yeah. We're doing a reaction video tomorrow. G, if you want to come, you can come through and be a part of our reaction video for Black Widow tomorrow. I think Raiden, Pumpkinhead, whose name is up on this wall, Pumpkin, his son Raiden, he'll be here for our reaction video. He'll have a lot to say.
Oh yes,
because he's really deep into this stuff.
We need those. We need the youngins. Bring in the youngins.
It'll be fun.
Bring in the youngins, but make sure you are subscribed to MCMI Report.
Yes.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
We just need 25 more subscribers so we can elevate our live game.
Yeah, I was telling them before, we have some new people in here, but the reason that we're facing this way instead of facing our monitors is because I wanted to use the monitors to throw up a whole bunch of different, pictures and, as we talk about this episode, but they won't allow me to use anything but my webcam for this live until we get 25 more subscribers. So subscribe to the channel so that we can give you a even better experience than what we've already given you.
Which is already insane. And mind-blowing.
Fam, I gave you classic Loki pop bobblehead.
Damn Funko Pop.
What's wrong with you?
And we all have 3 or 4 accounts, so make sure that they're all following MCMI Report on YouTube.
Word, this was good, man.
I had fun, man.
This was a good episode, and this new live thing.
Not bad.
It's not bad. We'll see.
We'll get the graphics going.
Yeah.
But no, this is it, man. This is it. Aiight So Boom.
Yeah, I'm LR Blitzkrieg.
I am the marksman.
This has been
Aiight
So Boom. Peace.